These former admissions officers have been asked to evaluate this forensic student's college applicant profile, just like how they would do in a real IvyWise session.
Hi, my name's Carolyn. I'm a college admissions counselor with IvyWise, as well as a former admissions counselor at Vanderbilt University. My counseling style is student-centered. It's focused on accountability, and it's also as stress-free as possible.
Hi, my name is James. I am a former admission counselor at the University of Southern California, as well as the University of Utah and the University of Illinois Chicago, which is also my alma mater. I am also a counselor here at IvyWise, and my counseling style with students is very conversational, supportive, and accountable. So we are going to be looking at a student that is interested in toxicology and forensic chemistry. Student has some phenomenal academic background, some very interesting classes that they've taken, being able to challenge themselves in a rigorous area there. But they also have some very interesting extracurricular activities that will allow them a lot to talk about within their application when the time comes for them to submit. And they're also, as far as the type of institutions that they're looking for a large campus, public setting, looking for it to be in an urban setting, in a research type institution. As of right now, the student is still pretty unsure of some of the specific colleges and universities that they're looking at.
Yeah, one of the things that really stands out to me about this applicant, well, a couple things. One is that really interesting and somewhat unique interest in terms of academic majors, looking at toxicology and forensic science. Certainly something that's becoming more popular with all of the true crime shows and the procedurals and all of that stuff. But I think it's really fantastic that she's found something that she's passionate about, and it's going to make the college search process really interesting. In a lot of ways more challenging, but in a lot of ways easier, having a really solid idea of what she wants to study. I also really appreciate the diversity of extracurricular experiences she has, things that speak to those interests, but as well as some things that are outside of those ranges. I really like particularly the True Crime Club, which is hard to say, but the True Crime Club that certainly supports her interest in things like toxicology and forensic science, and the way that she's brought the different activities together. So doing she did a joint murder mystery party with both the True Crime Club and the STEM Club to sort of bring those two ideas together to build community, but also to really kind of play around in how those different subject areas interact. So I think that's going to be really great for developing her interest and her experience, but it's also going to be great options for essay material as we start thinking about not just the personal statement, but supplemental essays as well.
Excellent. And I do agree with you that that's going to give the student a great deal to be able to talk about and vocalize, but also being able to expand upon the things that they're looking for. They've mentioned the large campus, the public institution, but how is that going to play into their ability to do or focus on their academic interests? How is it going to play into their ability to explore and continue exploring the extracurricular activities that they've already started working on and being a part of in their high school career that they might want to continue as an undergraduate student? So I believe that, to your point, Carolyn, that it is going to be important to really talk about why the extracurricular activities, the why, the large campus, the urban setting, and what that will mean for the student and their success once they're actually on campus as well. And that's going to be important because it's going to create that buy-in for the counselors or admission officers who are reading their application on the receiving end at the institutions that they will be applying to. The other thing for me that also really stands out is looking at their academic background, their history there. They're a really strong student academically. Looking at, they've already taken the ACT and have a 34 out of a 36 max composite for it. So it's a really strong score there. They have a 3.95. It's a great GPA for them. Almost perfect. So it's knowing in that space, like, this student academically has pushed themselves. They've taken AP courses, being able to take more challenging and more rigorous coursework at their current institution. That is going to be something that the future institutions will look for and be excited about. Anything else that stands out for you, Carolyn?
Absolutely. Well, just to piggyback on what you're saying about the student's academic profile, she's taken, from what we can see, a good number of AP courses, especially in the science areas, which is going to be really great to demonstrate, along with her other grades and her test scores, that she is ready for college level material, particularly in those particular fields. I would also encourage the student to think about how she can use her extracurricular time, of which she may not have much, because like we said, she's got a pretty robust resume there, but maybe her summer break as well, to find opportunities outside of what's offered by her high school to explore some of those more specific subject areas. So whether that's a summer program on forensic science or an online toxicology class, one of the things that I would want to know is how much she's been able to explore those specific areas outside of the more general classes like AP Bio and AP Chem, not just to demonstrate that she's genuinely interested in those things to colleges, but also get the chance to get some background information and sort of a foundation as she goes into those college level courses. In terms of her college list, I'm glad, first of all, that she's looking for large schools. One of the more frustrating scenarios is when students are looking for a really unique kind of niche major, but they want a small school, and that's a very difficult thing to find. So the larger schools are definitely going to be better options if you're looking for something specific like toxicology or forensic science, and not just bio or chem or psychology, right? And so in terms of building that list, some schools that may not necessarily be on the student's radar, but that have strong programs in those areas. So thinking about Rutgers, Maryland, Illinois, VCU, Ohio State. I know Minnesota has programs in these areas, looking for not just really strong schools in general and schools that fit her criteria, but also ones that are going to have the opportunities that she's looking for to explore those specific academic areas. And those larger schools, and this is certainly a generalization, but those larger schools also tend to be less selective. And so her ACT scores and her GPA are going to really be sort of a shining star in her application, and may even earn her some scholarship dollars as well.
Excellent. No, I completely agree there. And as she's forming this list, it's going to be great. You hit it right on the head. I was like, oh, absolutely. The large institutions is really going to be this student's bread and butter for the major. The other thing over summer that they could potentially do that would also help is finding someone that is already working within this space to be able to dive deeper into, say, I do understand what I'm getting into with this major that is quite unique in a sense, and being able to understand the career paths that are going to follow behind it, so that the university can also understand that you've done your due diligence and your research behind the major itself to know what possibilities are available for you in that space. I think that is something else that will help to set the student apart, to make them a bit more competitive in that space, give them additional things to talk about, but also giving them more preparation and more determination. If they're like, I've shadowed or I interviewed this one forensic scientist and love what they've done, I'm going down the same path, I'm going to move to Miami and be not the next Dexter, but the
person who's going to catch the next Dexter.
Yes, exactly. And being able to be in that space where you understand, because oftentimes, and it does happen, where students are choosing majors because they've seen CSI or Criminal Minds and they're really into the show, but then it comes time for the actual work for the career path that they're looking at, and it's nothing like the show. So being able to say that you've done your research behind the career path as well also will help, because it will set you apart, because it will let them know that you're actually interested in this path, and it's not just a glorification of TV that has brought you here and is the only reason you're applying for this potential major.
Absolutely. I think that's something to really be cognizant of anytime there are kind of like quote unquote trendy majors, where admission staff, but particularly faculty, are very aware of that. And they're not going to be just looking for grades and test scores, but can you demonstrate to us, like you said, that you are genuinely interested in this and that you do understand what this looks like at an academic level and also at a career level as well. Thinking about preparing for senior year. So senior year is not just about submitting applications, but a lot of the things that you accomplish in senior year are going to end up being part of that review as well. The student will want to make sure that they're continuing to take rigorous courses. So we can see that they've taken at least 3 AP courses, but a student's curriculum is going to be evaluated in the context of their high school. So if they're taking 3 AP courses, but the most competitive students in their class are taking 8, that's something we want to take into consideration as well, because the colleges certainly will. So thinking about what are the course options available to the student in senior year, where can she really continue to push that rigor, especially in areas that are connected to what she wants to study in college. And then in terms of extracurriculars as well, we mentioned she's got a really diverse and interesting list of activities, but we want to make sure that there are any opportunities for whether it's leadership positions, formal leadership positions, or informal new projects that she could initiate or lead, any chance that she has to really increase her impact and the skills and knowledge that she's both putting into and also getting out of these activities. Senior year can be a great time to really capitalize on that. And that I've contributed a lot of things over the course of the last 2 or 3 years. And now I have a leadership position, or I have a project that I was able to initiate and follow through. Could be another way to sort of put a little bit of a cherry on the top of her, what is already an impressive resume. The other thing that she might... Oh, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
I would say the other thing that she might want to start thinking about is essays. Do you have thoughts on essay topics she might want to consider?
For me, honestly, the thing that I've been thinking about is the joint partnership or creating that club where the murder mystery club and or true crime and the STEM club came together, because this is honestly the first time I've heard of it. And I'm not going to date myself by saying how long I've been doing admission work, but a long time and seen many combinations of clubs and activities. But this for me was one of the first times that I've seen a true crime club being partnered with a STEM club and having a joint event. And in that space, you can talk about how you made that a reality as far as the work that went into it. Were you a part of both clubs already? Were you a part of one and you had a friend in the other and you all were sitting, like, how did that come about? Walking through the steps to be able to do that, because if you orchestrated that by yourself in regards to, I thought about it, I sat down and created that plan, I then started the groundwork and reaching out to the faculty member or teachers at school to figure out how can I make this a reality. Walking through those steps shows your time management, your organization, your communication skills, your ability to pull people in and gather them together. So leadership, and your ability to work with others as well. So for me, that is honestly a great starting spot for consideration for this particular student to start writing an essay about, because there's so much that as far as qualitative skills that are in just that particular activity itself. Then to add everything else in, it can absolutely make a very well-rounded student for any and every institution that they're looking at if they talk about it in a very articulate way. So for me, it's definitely in that space to be able to talk about how, why, and when that came about.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That was the first thing that came to mind as well, particularly because that's something that, if you try to cram it into that very small space that you get on the Common App to describe activities, you don't really get the whole picture. Is that something that you just, threw together in a couple hours on a Friday night? Or is this something, like you were saying, that took weeks and months of planning and really incorporated important skills and content from both of those activities? So if it's the latter, then that's a great opportunity to use the essays to your advantage and provide that additional detail to make sure that colleges understand how much went into that and what you got out of it as well. I think, as we mentioned earlier, really being able to communicate to colleges why you're interested in things like toxicology and forensic science, the supplemental essays, and possibly even the personal statement as well can be great opportunities to demonstrate, in addition to what's on your resume, here's why I'm interested, here's what really got me started in this interest, and here's what I hope to do with it. There are certainly some supplemental essay prompts that speak directly to that, but the personal statement is a great chance to do that as well.
And there's one other thing I did want to mention for this particular student, being that they are a rising senior in this space. Summer is the last semester of your junior year. Thinking about those letters of recommendation, the teachers that you want to tap into, being able to say, hey, I'm interested in a letter of recommendation. Like, would you be willing to do that? Giving them time to do it as well, because you don't want to give them ask them and they say yes, and then you gave them 2 weeks. You want to give them as much time as possible to write the best letter for you in that space. So for me, second semester junior year is an ideal time to start really thinking about which teachers on campus that you want to actually write a letter recommendation for you, that you think will write a good letter recommendation, asking them if they would be interested and giving them that time. And then come summer, after that's over, beginning of the school year, then you can revisit that and say, hey, I just wanted to circle back, know that we're back from summer break. These are some of the institutions I'm looking to apply for. Would you be still interested in writing that letter recommendation for me? Because most institutions will ask for at least one, sometimes two, if not more. So wanting to make sure that you do have teachers in mind and that you've done the legwork to be able to start asking them for that, with giving them ample time. Because chances are, if you're asking them, you're probably not the only one. So you want to make sure that you get ahead of the curve and that you are the first one that asks them, so that you have plenty of time to get that best letter recommendation.
Absolutely. I always tell students to have at least 2 teacher recommendations ready to go. And some schools have specific some high schools have specific timelines and processes that you need to follow. So definitely make sure that you're aware of that. I would also say, in addition to those teacher recommendations, a lot of schools will accept some like additional recommendations as well. And that's another opportunity, another way in which the student could give a little bit more detail on some of her extracurricular activities, whether it's, the sponsor of the True Crime Club or her American Sign Language tutor. We haven't even talked about the fact that she does American Sign Language. Somebody who can use that recommendation letter to give a different perspective on the student and the things that she's put into, not just the academic tasks in front of her, but also the things that she's done outside of the classroom as well.
And thank you for actually pointing that out, the American Sign Language, and making sure that you do put that in for a second language, because that, if you are fluent in American Sign Language, it is a second language for you. So please make sure that you are including that in the common application when it asks you what languages you speak, that is listed there and not forgotten about.
Absolutely. I took an ASL class in college. That's no joke. It is not easy to learn.
So with this particular profile, the forensic science, forensic chemistry, the other thing I did want to point out is understanding that you might not find the exact language. Forensic science, forensic chemistry at many institutions can be interchangeable. So understanding that just because it doesn't say forensic science and it says forensic chemistry, or vice versa, that it still potentially could be the program for you. So when it comes for very specific or trendy majors like this, understanding the name, but more importantly, understanding the curriculum that they're going through, that's definitely something you'll want to look into to make sure that it is the major that you're looking for.
Absolutely. And when I was doing research for this student, that was something that I had to keep in mind in searching for majors. You want to try forensic science, and then you want to try forensic chemistry, and then you want to try, a few different things. So depending on the search tool that you're using at the very start of the process, that's a great thing to keep in mind. A couple of the schools that I was thinking about for this student, so the University of Maryland is a large public institution, which is what the student is looking for, and they have really strong both toxicology as well as forensic science programs. Rutgers University as well, Ohio State, another, but all large public schools with excellent programs in those areas. So I think it would be helpful, as with other students, to continue to sort of fine tune what the student is looking for. But I think with that specific major of interest, and she's really narrowed down to some strong size criteria as well as setting criteria and academic mission, she's in a great place to put together a list of schools that are really strong fits for her. All right, so that's just a preview of the kind of conversations that we have in our initial consultations, as well as our roundtable conversations here at IvyWise. If you're interested in learning more, click the link below.
Contact IvyWise today to learn more about our services.